Welcome back to Stab the Dragon Productions for a Whiskey Holiday Special Edition as we are celebrating International Whiskey Day. Today, March 27th, coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas, where it is currently 59 degrees. We'll be participating in International Whiskey Day by continuing our Irish Studies. Episode number 5, we're going to be looking at the Whistler Irish Whiskey, Oloroso Sherry Cask Finish. I wonder if somewhere in Ireland there's somebody celebrating this holiday by drinking a Texas whiskey. I don't know. Well, if you're participating in this whiskey holiday, drop me a comment about which whiskey you enjoyed for International Whiskey Day on March 27th. Just the facts. The Whistler comes from Bowen Distillery and is a blended Irish whiskey weighing in at 86 proof, non-age stated, coming in a 750 milliliter bottle for about $37 here in Fort Worth, but only at Specs liquor stores. Can't find it anywhere else. Tasting notes. This is on the sweet side. I get lemon initially, and it gets spicy. I get maybe some pears. The sherry notes are missing for me on the taste, pretty much. Maybe just a little bit on the finish, but this is very nice though. It is surprisingly spicy and tangy, lively, very good. My score was an 86. Letter grade for drinkability, A-. My recommendation. This whiskey is a very good whiskey with a strong value for the price, if you can find it. The sherry cask impact is slight. The bourbon notes, I think, are much stronger. So this is a good Irish whiskey for you American bourbon fans to transition to Irish with. It's strong enough for cocktails and flexible, so I highly recommend this. Now, what about International Whiskey Day? Created in 2008 in the Netherlands in honor of the legacy of whiskey author Michael Jackson, and is celebrated on March 27th annually, as this was Jackson's birthday. And somewhere in here I've got the book. I'm going to cause a disaster. Yes, definitely causing a disaster here. Okay, there we go. Finally dug it out. Michael Jackson. He was a noted author of all things wine and whiskey included from England. So there's his book. Actually, he wrote several books. This is just one of them. All right. Whiskey details. Back to the whiskey. Bowen Distillery was established in 2015, is an independent family-owned distillery near Bryanstown in County Meath, Ireland, north of Dublin, close to the coast, southwest of the Isle of Man. Founded by Patrick and Marie Cooney, and their philosophy is to use traditional pot still with some modern science and technology. They like to dig up ancient mash bills and all natural ingredients, locally sourced resources. So they're, private and independent, family owned, getting back to nature as much as possible. I like that. 5 out of 5 points for history. Bottle label and marketing. The bottle is round, slightly smaller at the base, flares up gently. You got a flared neck. Plastic cap with a cork stopper, which is kind of an odd combination. The label is basic, green with white letters, some gold trim. Nothing overly fancy about the label. Although you do have, I'm not real sure what, some kind of emblem on here. I'm not sure. Oh, those are casks. Okay. And down at the bottom, Not real sure what that is on the bottom there, but all right. So it's a decent label, nice bottle. 4 out of 5 points. The information on the bottle is pretty basic, a little bit of hoo-ha, but it's very clear, actually. They provide a lot of clarity. So, appearance. This is kind of a light color right there. It's non-chill filtered, so may look just slightly a little bit cloudy, maybe. But the appearance is fairly light. Straw color, 2 out of 5. Composition. This is a 43% ABV or 86 proof. Non-age stated. It is aged in first fill bourbon casks and then married in Solero Oloroso sherry butts for 9 months. Natural color, non-chill filtered, triple distilled Irish malt whiskey with grain whiskey. They use locally sourced grains and water from the Boyne River Valley. Pretty good clarity and transparency, so 14 out of 15 for composition. Nose. Bourbon notes are on the nose, I think. Let's see. Yes. A little bit bourbony. My understanding of first fill bourbon cask usage is that the cask that they use had already been used once by bourbon, and then they are the first thing after the bourbon. So I am getting some vanilla, sweet lemon, a little bit of spice, a little bit of wood, maybe the hint of sherry notes. 8 out of 10 on the nose. Taste. Nice and sweet. I get some lemon initially. Spiciness. Maybe some pears there. Definitely bourbon-esque. But the sherry notes, I'm not picking up. I'm just kind of not sure about the sherry. There might be some hints of sherry in there. Maybe vaguely. But the bourbon notes is what I'm really picking up on. And it's still very delicious. So 21 out of 25. Mouthfeel, burn, and finish. You get a medium mouthfeel, fairly oily. Does coat the mouth. The spiciness is really prevalent. I really like the spiciness here. And that assists in the burn, even though this is like 86 proof. Now, it's not a harsh burn at all, but a bit more than the proof would suggest with an Irish whiskey. So it's certainly not inappropriate. It doesn't go up in the sinuses, doesn't go down. Focuses here in the mouth. And the burn and the spiciness, it's really more on the back end and the finish. Fairly long finish. And the flavors do stay with you. They linger a little bit. So really, the mouthfeel, burn, and finish here is pretty good. That's a 14 out of 15. So that really makes this drinking experience wonderful. Flexibility. Well, I like it neat, obviously. I always do. Ice, I think this is strong enough to hold up to ice. It's got enough of a kick. It's got enough flavor. Proof is enough. So, yeah, I'm going to say this would hold up to ice if you want to pollute your whiskey. That's your call. Cocktails. Yesterday, when I was testing this, I did a ginger ale with a lemon slice, and it absolutely worked. Even my wife liked it. And so, you know, this is flexible in that regard. But what about a nicer cocktail like a old fashioned? Let me go make one and I'll be right back. And I'm back with an old fashioned. Now, old fashions, there's, you know, classic old fashions, but you can have a lot of variation within this cocktail. Normally I use an orange slice. With this particular whiskey, because I was tasting lemon, I put a lemon slice in there. And you know, normally just an orange peel. Some people might use just a sprig of lemon peel. I went ahead and put a whole lemon slice. And it's got one cherry in there, Woodford Reserve bourbon cherries. I've got some orange bitters and some Angostura bitters, and about 1/4 teaspoon of white sugar. That's it. And that is pretty good. I may have put just a tad bit too much Angostura in there. It's just a hint of imbalance. Getting that perfect is always hard to do. But nonetheless, the lemon works. So that gives a definitely more tangy approach than the orange peel. And it works with this particular whiskey. So for flexibility, definitely a 5 out of 5 points, because it can work in ginger ale, I imagine 7-Up, Sprite. Also works in the old fashioned, and it's beautiful, neat. Price, value, and availability. I paid $36.83 for this 750 milliliter bottle. And as far as I can tell, it is only available at Specs Liquors here in Fort Worth. But that's a fair price for this very good whiskey. Availability is low, so there's points off for that. But Specs has a tremendous lineup of this brand. For a small family-owned craft distillery in Ireland, they put out a lot of good stuff. I've got another Whistler coming up that I will likely do, and that's the Stout Cask, Imperial Stout Cask. There you go. So I think I'm going to do that next time. And they've got several other varieties. I mean, I bet they had 10 varieties at Specs. So the Whistler really has put out quite a few whiskeys there. So price, value, and availability, 8 out of 10, because it may be hard to find. Bonus points, again, small craft distillery, independent, family owned, doing things the right way in a big way. I'm impressed. I will definitely collect more from this brand. Really liked this first one. So 5 out of 5 for bonus points, giving me a total score of 86. Letter grade for drinkability, and A-. My analysis and recommendation. This is really an impressive brand and distillery that puts out a lot of good whiskey for apparently a very decent price. A lot of cask strength options out there too. This family-owned aspect really draws me in. I like the independent producers. My favorite distillery here in Fort Worth is Acre. They're independent, family-owned. So the quality here is outstanding. Definitely worth exploring more. So the whiskey's delicious. You get the bourbon notes. So that's going to be familiar to bourbon fans if you want to cross over and try some Irish. And I've personally struggled with Irish whiskeys through the years as a category, but this brand has got my attention. The whiskey's very good with a strong value for the price, if you can find it. Now, the criticism is the sherry cask impact, I think, is very slight. The bourbon notes are definitely much stronger for me, which is good. because I like bourbon. Okay, so for me, this is a good whiskey, but the Oloroso sherry casks really didn't come through on this. I think this is high quality enough to stand up to cocktails, and so I highly recommend the Whistler Oloroso sherry cask. And again, in conclusion, next time I think we're going to do this Imperial Stout version of the Whistler. So I think that's probably going to come up next. For now, this is Stab the Dragon Productions with Irish Whiskey Studies out here.